Hello, and welcome once again to Family Historian. My name is Stephen Conti. Tonight we are going to visit the Deep South, and we are going to learn about the genealogical record sources of the Magnolia State, Mississippi. And joining me on tonight's show, I am very honored to have as my guest a wonderful lady. Her name is Cherokana Feliciano, and I love that name. Cherokana is a professional genealogist, a public historian, and a law school graduate. And she has more ancestors in Mississippi than Mississippi has magnolia blossoms. And on tonight's show, Cherokana is going to teach us the how-to of doing research in Mississippi. So please take notes. And now let's welcome Cherokana Feliciano. Cherokana, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
And we are very happy to have you here as well. Now, the name Mississippi, I can't even spell it, okay? What does that mean?
It means great river.
Okay, and the Mississippi is a great river.
Yes, it is.
And this is a Native American name.
Correct.
Let's go way back in time.
Okay.
To the very first inhabitants of Mississippi.
Yes.
And you mentioned 3 tribes. Can you tell our viewers who they were?
Yes, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and the Natchez.
Natchez, that is a town right now in
Correct.
Mississippi.
Correct.
I
Yes.
see, okay. Then we had the input of the white man coming into Mississippi.
Correct.
And who were those people, the first explorers of Mississippi?
Yes, so first were the Spanish, and Hernando de Soto is the conquistador who is, I suppose, credited with that being the first. And then after the Spanish came the French.
Now, the Spanish came in the early 1540s.
Correct, yeah.
And the French made their debut in the New World. You have here 1699.
Somewhere around there, yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, were they the founders of Biloxi?
Right, so they did create a fort, I think it was called Fort Laramie,
Right.
and it was off of the Biloxi, on the east side of the Biloxi Bay.
Now, were they the ones who brought in the enslaved people, or was it the Spanish?
So my understanding is that the French are the ones, I hate to say credited, but brought in the enslaved.
Right. Now, you told me something very interesting that I never knew. I used to go down to New Orleans a lot, where they have the Mardi Gras. But tell our viewers where the first Mardi Gras was held because of the French influence.
Yes, the first Mardi Gras, or documented Mardi Gras, was in Mobile, Alabama.
And around what year was that, would you say?
Oh, that I'm not sure.
But very early on.
Yes.
Very early on.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have the Brits coming in.
Yes.
Okay, and the 1700s.
Right.
Just before the American Revolution.
Right.
Now, this is something I did not know. The year 1783. What happened in that year?
So the Spanish actually regained power briefly, again, but then they eventually succeeded or ceded the land over to the United States.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
And then in 1817,
Yes.
what happened to Mississippi?
It becomes a U.S. territory.
Or state?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, the
and
20th state.
The 20th state, right. And then we have the Civil War. We're giving you the history of Mississippi in about 5 minutes here. 1 January 1861, Civil War.
Right.
A very sensitive period in the South.
For sure.
And what happened in that year, 1861?
They leave the Union.
They secede.
Yes.
Okay. Along with other southern states.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
But then they came back.
Yes.
And that was
1870.
in 1870.
Correct.
They rejoined the Union.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I think some Mississippians still think they are apart
Part
from...
of the Confederacy.
Right.
Yes.
We won't go there, though. Okay.
Right.
Now, let's talk about your family, because
Yeah.
you go way, way back in Mississippi.
Yes.
As I said, Cherokana has more ancestors in Mississippi than Mississippi has magnolia blossoms. Okay. Where did your family originate in Mississippi?
So the furthest we're able to go back in Mississippi is in Madison County in a town called Canton, Mississippi.
All right. And we are going to show you a book on Canton
Yes.
with members of your family.
Yes, this is actually a book I didn't know was written, but it appears to be a distant cousin, and that's actually another great resource that people can look into.
Right.
Sometimes people write about the county or the town that your family is from, and you may actually find some relatives or family information in those books, and that's what happened to me in this book.
And this is the best example of a local source that was
Yes.
written by a distant cousin
Yes.
of yours.
Yes.
Now, the man that we're going to talk about, that Cherokana has done extensive research on, and she's very proud of being his great-great-granddaughter.
Correct.
Tell our viewers what his name is.
His name is Larkin Woodruff.
Larkin Woodruff, and his span of years?
Circa 1830 to 1938.
And we believe he was born, or is that a mystery? We believe he was born in what part of Mississippi?
Because it looks like he was enslaved, we're not sure if he was born into slavery or not, but he actually may have been born in Louisiana, in Roseville, Louisiana.
I see.
But there is also some family folklore that states that he may have been captured and taken from his parents. So his origins are a little bit mysterious. And that's not uncommon when you're dealing with the enslaved.
Right, and we do have a photo of Larkin Woodruff.
Yes.
Around what year was this photo taken?
If I had to guess, because I'm not entirely sure, I would probably suspect the early 1900s, like maybe 1910.
Right.
I'm sure a photographer who's an expert in photography
Yes.
can pinpoint the year, but yeah.
And he's the older man in the
Seated.
photo, and
Correct.
the other man is?
His son, John.
That would be your great-grandfather.
Great-granduncle.
Uncle.
Great-great-granduncle,
I
yes.
see. Okay, fine, fine. Now, here's the proud part. Larkin Woodruff fought for the Union in the Civil War.
Yes.
So, and do you know where he fought? He fought in the South.
Yes, so he was in the 50th U.S. Colored Troops. And they were a regiment that was actually taken from Louisiana Regiment, the 12th Louisiana Regiment.
Right.
It looks like he fought mainly in the South, from what I've been able to gather. But there's definitely more, to learn about. And military records are kind of their own
Yes.
animal, if you will.
So this makes you eligible to join any kind of Civil War
Yes.
descendant society.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Now, please show our viewers the medal here, and
Yes.
you will show this very proudly.
Yes.
Now, we
yes.
have two of them here, and one
Correct.
belongs to?
His son Clarence. So Uncle Clarence, I remember Uncle Clarence when I visited Mississippi. And then that's Larkin's medal. This was for the 75th anniversary of Gettysburg. It was a 1938 reunion. And it was a big deal because the soldiers were getting older and dying.
Yes,
And so they wanted to collect stories. And it was also the first time that Black veterans were actually invited,
Wonderful.
including my ancestor.
Oh, that's something to be very proud of.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, he did not live to see this.
He did not. No, he passed away just a few weeks before the reunion happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
just a few weeks before.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very sad, very sad. Now, we're going to deal with the genealogy records now.
Yes.
And you've all heard of pension records, and Civil War vets did get pensions.
Correct.
And we have a copy of one right now, and I'm going to have Cherokana read this to you.
Yes.
This is from, now you can obtain these at the National Archives,
Correct.
but you took another route, and I won't go
did.
into that.
Right. Right.
And you got this from where?
The VA.
The VA.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And what does this state? That this gives you a whole story of Larkin, who was the great-great-grandfather of Cherokana.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just want to give some context. This is called the Report of Contact. And I received the pension file on a CD-ROM, and it turned out to be about 240 some odd pages.
Oh, my word.
So this is just one piece of information you can find in a Civil
Right,
War pension file. So it states that who the person's contacted. It says my ancestor Larkin. I see my great-great-grandmother, Millie Brown Woodruff, is also listed there, as well as his son, Clarence. As you see, that was the one who was his attendee with the medal.
Yes.
So it states here, this Civil War veteran, an old colored man, claims that he is well over 100 years old. Quote, just count it up for yourself, for I was quite a chunk of a little boy when the stars fell, end quote. 1833, question mark. He was asleep and did not witness the spectacle, but remembers people on the plantation in Louisiana discussing it the next day and telling how frightened they were, or such is his story. And I just want to share there that I presented this at another event, and an attendee there was kind enough to let me know that he likely was talking about the meteor shower that happened in 1833.
Isn't that something?
Called the Great Leonid Shower.
This
Yes.
is a living history.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it
he
is.
witnessed that
That's right.
meteor shower
That's
back
right.
in
33. Yes.
And
he
he
was a
lived
little
to
boy.
a ripe old age.
He sure did. That line of my family tends to, yes.
You have good genes.
Thank you.
And
Thank
he
you.
died in
38.
1938
Yes.
and missed this wonderful reunion.
Yes, he did. He
Right,
did.
right. Okay, now let's get back to Mississippi,
Yeah.
and we're doing the state records now. We are very lucky here in New Jersey because our vital records are available back to the year 1848. Not so in the South.
Right.
Because we did a show on South Carolina, same story,
Yeah.
and Mississippi. And I'm going to read the availability of these vital records.
Yeah.
Birth, 1912 to the present. Marriage, 1926 to 1938.
Right.
It's very sporadic.
Yes.
Death records, 1912 to 1943.
Right. Right.
Now, these are available at the Department of Health in Jackson, Mississippi, which is the capital of Mississippi.
Correct.
But you told me just before tonight's taping that you can get around this by doing work on the county level. Can you explain that to our viewers?
Sure, yes. So I had, for example, I was looking for a marriage record, and the marriage was in 1897.
Yeah.
So it was prior to those years you mentioned.
Yes.
So you can try on the county level to contact the courthouse there to see if you can get a copy.
Right.
Now, the caveat with that there is that you may not get an original. I received a copy that was a modern printout. And so I called the county clerk's office back and I said, you know, thank you, but this is not what I was looking for.
Yes,
I was hoping
yes.
for an original copy.
No.
She then explained I would have to actually visit Jackson myself in order to make a copy.
Physically.
Exactly.
Oh, my word.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to interject something else here because this is something that I learned so much from my wonderful learned guests. I never knew of the existence of, I guess it's a site. It's called Reclaim the Records, and we're going to put up the site for you. Tell me about this, Reclaim the Records, and when it was
Yes.
founded and what it does.
Yes, so Reclaim the Records, they are not a repository, but they are activists of genealogists, attorneys, and so forth.
Right.
People who have an interest and a vested interest in making information available. So they do FOIA requests so
Yes.
that the government will actually release information and make it more accessible for people.
This is like Freedom of Information Act.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And you also mentioned a young man.
Yes.
Can you tell us his name? He's a young genealogist.
Yes,
in-
his name is Christopher Smothers.
based in Maryland, I believe.
Yes, correct.
And why do we mention his name in accordance with Mississippi?
Yeah, so I think Christopher is actually based in Georgia, but he does research in Maryland,
I
the
see.
South, as well as Mississippi.
Right.
And so it's a great story that's actually on the Reclaim the Records website because it talks about Christopher Smothers' struggles trying to do research looking for the death index in Mississippi.
Right.
And he was told the same thing. He would have to actually go to Jackson. So he was able to collaborate with Reclaim the Records in order to make that death index available. And so now you can find it on archive.org.
So through this young man's struggle,
Right, right.
he was able to open that up for Mississippians.
Correct, correct. And it's a great example of sort of grassroots efforts in a way, and the power of the people in many ways.
Reclaim the records.
Yes.
When was this? This must be a new.
It's fairly new. I don't know the exact year, but it's not, I don't think it's more than about 10 years old. And forgive me if I'm incorrect, but it is a new website, yeah, a new effort.
So we are militant genealogists.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's get to the federal. You have the 1870 census.
Correct.
And why is this important to African Americans,
Yes.
Characana?
So for those who descend from the enslaved in the United States, the 1870 census is the first census record that we are listed by name, that our ancestors are listed by name. Prior to that, we're itemized, if you will.
Right.
Or you have to look into inventory records and estates and all that type of stuff. So the 1870 census is the first time you actually see our names, our ancestors' names.
Right. And you did find
I did.
Your ancestor,
Yes, yes.
Larkin Woodruff, and we have a copy of that.
Yes.
Larkin Woodruff in the 1870 census.
Correct.
And something astounded you when you read this.
Yes, he's listed as mulatto. So when I first came across the record, I actually dismissed it partly because of that.
Yeah.
Because I had no understanding of him as being mixed race or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I did corroborate the fact that the wife that's listed there is Annie, and I do know his first wife's name was Anne or Annie, a derivation of that.
Right.
So that looks like that is him on the 1870 census. It also matches the location of Louisiana. Now, I did some study into the meaning of mulatto.
Yeah, what is that meaning?
So the phrase has changed a lot. I think typically the understanding of mulatto is being 50-50, half black, half white.
Right, right.
However, and it's also an insulting term because it comes from mule. And the idea that a
Really?
mule, right, a mule cannot procreate itself, right? So it's an offensive term, but it is a term that was used. And so sometimes the meaning can vary. It can be something as broad as the person just has foreign origin.
Right, right.
Or the person is mixed, but not necessarily 50-50. Sometimes it's not necessarily a black and white mixture. So it has a very fluid meaning over the years. It's very possible that Larkin had some European ancestry that we just weren't aware of. It also could be an error, or it could signal that there was either his parents or he was born somewhere else.
Right. Well, if you have your DNA done nowadays.
Yes, yes. I did do some DNA.
Okay.
The closest ancestor would be, or the closest relative to him would be my grandmother, right? That's his granddaughter.
Yes.
Because he, of course, has passed away.
Yes.
We did see some European ancestry there, but also we know that it came from her mother's side as well. So we'd have to do some deeper digging to see where it crosses with Larkin's line.
Right. And you have some Hispanic. Well, you have Hispanic
Yes.
roots also.
Yes, I do. I do. My grandfather was Puerto Rican, so my mother is half Puerto Rican. Yes.
Feliciano.
Feliciano. That's
And
right.
you told me that you are distantly related to
Jose Feliciano. That's what my grandfather said. Jose Feliciano is a cousin. Yes.
another proud.
As well as
Yeah.
Cheo Feliciano. Some people may not know who he is, but he's also another singer from Puerto Rico. But
So
yes.
you have embraced all of these people.
Yes.
It's
yes,
wonderful,
yes.
wonderful. Now let's get back to Mississippi, okay? Mississippi State University.
Yes.
Correct me on this. They have something very unique. I don't know if other states have this.
Right.
Tell our viewers what they have. I believe it's on Wednesdays only. Tell our
Correct.
viewers.
Yes, so their library, they have set up a chat feature on Wednesdays for 1 hour. I believe it's from 9 to 10 or 10
Right.
to 11.
Right.
And you can chat with the librarian online for assistance with your research. You don't have to be affiliated with the university.
Yeah.
You just follow the link to register, and you can, be in touch with the librarian and have your questions answered.
Very good.
Yeah.
Also, we have to mention the Mississippi State Archives in Jackson.
Yes. Yes.
And have you done research there?
I've done some research online at home. Obviously, I have not been able to visit yet, and that
Yeah.
would be ideal. But they have a great collection and catalog on their website.
Yes.
But they also have something called the Family Genealogy Fellowship.
All right.
Yes.
Explain that. Now, you mentioned M as in Mississippi,
Right.
DAH, and that stands for
Department of Archives and History.
Mississippi. All right, now
Yeah.
they have a genealogy fellowship.
Correct.
This is very unique
Yes. Yes.
to Mississippi. Tell our viewers about that.
Yeah, so you can apply for their fellowship. It's a stipend up to $3,500, which covers your travel and accommodations in
Right.
Jackson, so that you can have access to the archives for the times that they're open to do research there. And I think it's an amazing, amazing thing to do. They do it every year.
And we have a link for that.
Yes,
Okay, we have a
yes.
link that we'll show you. Okay. Of course, local sources, we have those in all the states, and Mississippi is no exception. Libraries, historical societies, and the Mississippi Genealogical Society. I
Yes.
love their logo.
Yes, yes.
The Mississippi, and also the Mississippi
Historical
Historical
Society.
Society, which go hand in hand, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
There are also how-to books on Mississippi genealogy. We have examples of 2 of those. And I'm going to mention some famous Mississippians that you
Awesome.
might not know. The late and great James Earl Jones, the superb actor who was born in Mississippi.
Yes, he was.
Mary Ann Mobley, she was Miss America 1959, okay? And the king, Elvis Presley,
Yep.
from Tupelo,
That's
Mississippi.
right. That's right.
And I think they did some research on his family. He has German blood.
Oh, is
the
that
name
right?
was Pressler. Pressler,
Oh, is that
which
right?
is German. But I believe on his mother's side, he has Native American. Hence the high cheekbones. Elvis Presley. I think there are many genealogies on Elvis
Oh, I'm
Presley.
sure. I'm
the
sure.
famous Mississippian.
Yes.
And one of my favorite Mississippians, the wonderful opera diva who is still living. I think she was born in 1927, Leontine Price.
Yes.
Who is still able to sing.
Yes. Yes. She's from Laurel, Mississippi.
Laurel, Mississippi,
Yes.
and she's a very proud Mississippian.
Yes.
Before we close,
Mm-hmm.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is Mississippi research?
Ooh.
Ooh.
1 being the hardest, I would put Mississippi probably at about a 3.
A 3?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
As
think-
most of the southern states?
Yes. They just typically hold tight to records. They typically they gatekeep. They seem to be doing better. There's efforts. You know, the fellowship, for example, is that's pretty amazing, pretty progressive. But hopefully they keep moving in that direction.
You have applied for this, is that correct?
I have.
You're just waiting.
Well, I didn't get it the last few times. So I'm gonna keep. I don't know what's going on.
You don't know the right people.
I don't know the right people.
Right,
It'll
right.
come at the right time.
Right. And I also want to show our viewers the beautiful new Mississippi state flag.
Yes. Yes.
And we're very proud of that flag with
beautiful.
the gorgeous
magnolia
magnolia
flower. Yes.
blossom.
Yes.
Just so lovely. When
It
did
is
that come
beautiful.
into being?
So they voted for it in 2020, and then it was put into use 2021. It's a beautiful flag.
Yes.
The prior flag had the Confederate
Yes.
flag in it. As you know, the magnolia is the state's flower, state tree. And one of the beautiful things about it is that it has 20 white 5-pointed stars, which represents Mississippi being the 20th state. The very top star, which is the gold star, is a representation and homage or homage to the Native Americans that were living there.
That was wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, this has been a glorious interview with
Thank
Chiricana
you.
Feliciano,
Thank you.
who is a professional genealogist, I never heard that, public historian.
Historian.
Can you define that?
Yes, it's basically a historian. We work outside of an academic setting. So a lot of my history research I do, I'm fortunate to be able to have sort of like an independence to do it on my own terms
Right.
when I would like to. I do a lot of history in New Jersey. I've been working on black cemeteries in New Jersey.
Yes.
So it's a broad term, but it basically means we're just not teaching in an academic setting.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now, you are also a law school graduate.
Yes, I went to the University of Maryland School of Law in Baltimore. Yes.
Now, that is wonderful, that combination of being an attorney and a genealogist.
Yes.
Do you think this will help you with documents and obtaining documents?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I think even doing the genealogy actually kind of helps hone my skills on the legal side as
Right.
well. I actually just took a course on probate records, and I feel like it allowed me to dive a little bit deeper on a level that you may not necessarily get to when you're looking at it from a legal perspective.
Very
But,
good.
yeah, I'm a lawyer, so not an attorney.
Okay.
Yes, there's a difference.
I see,
But yes.
okay.
But they certainly do complement each other for sure.
Yeah, because I never met a combination lawyer genealogist.
Oh, there is one. You should look her up, the legal genealogist. Her name escapes me right now, but if you Google the legal genealogist, she's a lawyer genealogist. So we're out there.
You're out there. Great.
Yes.
Well, Cherikana, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on my
much for
show
having me.
and talking about your beautiful state, Mississippi. I've
Thank
never been
you.
there, but
Thank
maybe
you.
I
Gotta-
will go
gotta
sometime.
visit, yes.
Okay. And I do love Mississippi mud pie. I love Mississippi mud pie on that last note.
Yes.
And thank you for watching my show on Mississippi Sources. My name is Stephen Conti, and remember, we are all descendants of ancient civilizations. Genealogy is your key to the history of your family. And so until next time, this is Stephen Conti wishing you the best of luck in your research, and above all, happy ancestor hunting. Good night.